Some gorgeous stuff there. Let's get some more fan reaction with Sophie Nicolaou from the Highbury Squad podcast. Sophie, thanks for coming on. We've, of course, been watching plenty of beautiful bits of action from Ozil's time at Arsenal, but of course his imminent departure has been getting a mixed reaction from fans. Just tell us, how will you remember his time at the Emirates?
Thanks for having me, firstly. And this kind of feels like a little bit of bad marriage. It feels like a divorce. A lot of players leave clubs and walk off into the sunset. And this particular loss of a player feels like it shouldn't have ended this way, but unfortunately it did. And I'd like for us to focus more on the footballing reasons than what some other Arsenal fans think this is all about. So do I appreciate the fact that he came to Arsenal when he played for the club? Absolutely. When he signed for us, we were in awe that we signed Mesut Ozil. We were building on the blocks of having signed Santi Cazorla, and then obviously Alexis Sanchez came to the club, and it felt like we had something really, really special brewing. But unfortunately, it never came to be. And I think he didn't live up to his full potential. Not all his fault, though.
No, well, you mentioned that then, Sophie. He, of course, was the club's highest paid player of all time. And that was something that was always brought up when talking about him. Do you think that was significant?
I actually think this is a little bit unfair because the club made that deal. And they made that deal because we were in a bit of a pickle at the time. We were losing Alexis Sanchez, and the thought of losing Ozil in the same window was just a really bad move for the club. At the time, he was definitely one of the most popular players. He played really well with Sanchez and Cazorla. And I think we were, in a situation where we had to make that deal. Now, did we have to make that deal at 350 grand a week? No. But I think the club got really desperate and gave him that deal. And, he had every right to sit and earn that money. And I just think that's one area that is a stumbling block a lot of the times for fans, because we're in a similar situation now where we feel like Pepe's not delivering and he's the record signing of the club. So money comes into it, but the truth of the matter is for 2 years, Mesut Ozil's production and his football has just not been great.
All right, so simple as that then, because of course he did, when Mikel Arteta came in, he did look as though he might be coming back into the fold, but ultimately he was then frozen out by Arteta towards the end. So that's your view?
Yeah, he was frozen out. I mean, he gave us some great memories. He really was part of the resurgence of our FA Cup wins. Forever grateful for his participation in that 2014 trophy that after being, trophyless for so many years, he was a huge part of that. The 3-3 Liverpool game where he and Sanchez shone together, we were losing 2-0 and we scored 3 goals in 4 minutes. It was an unbelievable moment. But those were few and far between. For that kind of money, you just can't have your Champions League highlight be this wonder goal against Ludogorets. The fans expected more, but also the club should have done more to back that trio and to build on those signings, and we never quite did. And now it's ended this way. Clearly, there's another issue, and there's 2 sides to every story, Kate, and then there's the truth. And maybe one day we'll find out the truth in terms of what really happened with Mesut Ozil and his last few months at Arsenal.
So for us, Sophie, watching back some of these extraordinary highlights, you mentioned, of course, it's a consistency question. It sounds like that's what you think. He's obviously been paid as one of Arsenal's best ever players. How will he be ranked for you amongst Arsenal's best ever players?
On the Highbury Squad the other day, we actually did a show, icon versus legends, okay? And legends are people like Tony Adams, Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp. They're the true DNA and the culture of the club, but that DNA and culture no longer exists. And Mikel Arteta's trying to build a new DNA and culture with players like Saka and Tierney and Emile Smith-Rowe and Martinelli. That's the future of Arsenal. Players like Ozil, Mustafi, Kolasinac, they've got to go. They're not part of Arsenal's future, and they come from an era that, to be quite honest with you, in some ways is forgettable. So for me, there's moments where Ozil was iconic, but he doesn't fall into the legendary category whatsoever.
Illuminating stuff, Sophie. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Take care, everyone.